On the day of my anniversary with Liu Ruyan, he once again left me behind to handle his experimental data. As I sat in a daze, the familiar bullet comments appeared again. The female lead is so career-driven, truly meticulous. She's just a bit slow, but she really loves the male lead. The female lead must be feeling sad too, not being able to spend the anniversary with the male lead. This time, I didn't comfort myself with these comments as I used to. Instead, I took out my phone and composed a breakup message. After all these years, I was exhausted. Even with the omniscient perspective, I didn't want this silent, invisible love anymore. I had been able to see these bullet comments since I was very young, so I knew early on that Liu Ruyan was the protagonist of this world, and I was her only male lead. The first time I discovered this was back in elementary school. As a child, I had a big appetite, and my mom's packed lunches were never enough. One time, after finishing my own lunch, I looked longingly at Liu Ruyan's share. Despite her small appetite, she always had a lot of food left over. Noticing my gaze, she spoke with a hint of disdain. "Are you really that greedy?" Although Liu Ruyan was my friend, I knew she was just teasing me, but as a child, it was hard not to feel embarrassed hearing such words. It was then that I first saw the bullet comments, as expected of the female lead, so cool even as a child. She talks like that, but she'll still give the food to the male lead. Cold on the outside but warm on the inside, so inexplicably cute. I didn't fully understand what the comments meant. I only knew that despite her disdain, Liu Ruyan still shared her food with me. I stared at the food in my bowl, feeling a bit strange. The bullet comments appeared again. The male lead was so adorable as a kid, a little foodie. I knew the female lead was just pretending to dislike it. Deep down she wanted him to eat more. She looks indifferent, but inside she's probably overjoyed. I looked at Liu Ruyan. Her expression was indifferent, and I couldn't see any sign of happiness. After that day, I told my mom at home that I had a big appetite and needed more food. Although surprised, she smiled and agreed. This time, the bullet comments flooded in. What's going on? The male lead's mom is packing the female lead's food. Who's going to eat it? The female lead specifically went grocery shopping with her mom the day before to prepare his favorite food. This part of the script is the sweetest and marks the beginning of their relationship development. Why change it? This time, I understood. They were saying that Liu Ruyan went out of her way to prepare my favorite food. But if that was true, why didn't she tell me? If she had said that she shopped with her mom to prepare my favorite food, I would have happily eaten it. But instead, she used a disdainful tone to call me a greedy boy. Hearing her words made me feel sad and embarrassed. I knew my mom would prepare my favorite food if I asked. I didn't need to rely on Liu Ruyan, and I certainly didn't want to experience love through such awkward means. The next day at lunch, I happily opened the large meal my mom had packed. This time, I didn't have to look longingly at Liu Ruyan's lunch. Noticing my behavior, Liu Ruyan turned to look at me, her gaze falling on my abundant lunch. Her expression darkened. The female lead is hurt. The male lead didn't eat the lunch she prepared. She always shows love through silent actions, never saying a word. Put yourself in the female lead's shoes, and it's heartbreaking. I found the comments odd. They could understand Liu Ruyan's thoughts because they had an omniscient perspective, but from my perspective, all I knew was her disdain for my big appetite. Although she eventually shared her food, I felt embarrassed. I didn't enjoy this way of experiencing love, but they called it her hidden love. This hidden love seemed to be Liu Ruyan's default mode. When transitioning from elementary to middle school, I performed exceptionally well and ended up in the same prestigious school as Liu Ruyan. On the first day, she waited for me at the entrance, but when she saw me, she coldly turned her head away. I didn't expect someone as dumb as you to get into the school. A genius girl, so cool when she speaks. She was thrilled when she found out he got in. The female lead is so aloof around the male lead. She knew today was the first day, and she waited here just for him. Seeing those comments, I understood. I asked her, Liu Ruyan, were you waiting here specifically for me? Her face reddened slightly, but she denied it. No, I was just passing by. This was our usual way of interacting. She was always cold to me, occasionally putting me down. But I often gleaned her affection through the comments. I actually liked Liu Ruyan. She was talented and beautiful, seemingly distant from everyone, yet somehow special to me. Despite my skepticism about this love, it persisted until my first year of high school. On my way home from school, I encountered a mugger and was nearly harmed. Liu Ruyan, who had been following me, rushed out without hesitation and saved my life, getting seriously injured in the process. When I visited her at the hospital, she turned her head and said calmly, "You don't need to thank me." In that situation, I would have done the same for anyone. The bullet comments exposed her lie, pointing out that she was terrified deep inside. One comment struck a chord with me. Liu Ruyan, you've done so much. Why don't you tell him? Is true love only about actions without words? This made me tear up, realizing the deep love Liu Ruyan had for me. From that day on, I began to see Liu Ruyan in a new light. I started to believe the bullet comments and tried to understand her profound and reserved love. This realization made me fall deeply in love with her. We started dating in college. Liu Ruyan was an exceptional student, and to get into the same university as her, I studied tirelessly in my final year of high school. I attended classes during the day and stayed up late at night reviewing and practicing. Liu Ruyan noticed my unusual behavior and asked why I had suddenly become so studious. Perhaps she wanted me to take it easy, but her words were sharp. With your brain, no amount of studying will help. You might as well get some rest. These are some notes I made out of boredom. Look at them if you can understand. Despite her harsh words, I felt warmth because I knew she was genuinely concerned. That year, I gave it my all and finally got into the same university as Liu Ruyan. For the first time, she smiled at me, but then quickly added, "The pressure at this school will be tough for you." I was too elated about attending the same university to notice the concern in her words. So, I asked her, "Can you help me with my studies once we're in university?" She paused, her ears turning red, and for the first time, she let down her cold facade in the glow of the setting sun. I thought this was a good start. However, once in university, Liu Ruyan demonstrated incredible academic talent and became a prodigy in her professor's lab. One day, I went to visit her at the lab and overheard her senior asking, "I heard you have a boyfriend." She nodded. The senior then asked, "He must be very handsome and outstanding." Liu Ruyan was silent for a moment before responding, "He's not very handsome, and his grades aren't great." The senior was puzzled. Getting into our university is already impressive. How can his grades be bad? Liu Ruyan continued, "He barely made it into our university, and he wasn't very studious before senior year." Standing at the door, I felt a bit disheartened. Though what she said was true, I had worked hard for my college entrance exam. While I wasn't as brilliant as Liu Ruyan, I wouldn't say my grades were poor. Yet, in her words, I was an inadequate boyfriend. The bullet comments, however, exclaimed, "So sweet, like a genius girlfriend doting on her clumsy boyfriend." Confused, I decided to confront Liu Ruyan about it. When I asked her, she appeared indifferent. I was just stating the truth. Getting into this university was partly due to luck for you. Even though we're a couple, I'm not used to telling lies. If this made you uncomfortable, I'm sorry. At that moment, I felt on the verge of breaking down. I wanted to question her loudly. If you think I'm not outstanding, that I have no merits, then why do you like me? I suddenly realized that all these years, I had only learned about Liu Ruyan's love for me through the bullet comments. He had never expressed it to me directly. So, I raised my head, looked him in the eye, and asked, "Liu Ruyan, do you really love me?" He looked at me, his expression moved, but he couldn't say a word. I asked again, "Liu Ruyan, tell me, do you really love me?" The bullet comments were in a frenzy. "Come on, female lead, say it. Tell him you love him. At least give him a hug." But Liu Ruyan remained silent, and finally, he just said, "Gee Boda, this has nothing to do with whether I love you or not." I responded angrily, "Of course it does. I need to feel your love." After that day, our relationship became strained. Yet, every day I would receive a delivery meal, and I knew it was from Liu Ruyan. The bullet comments kept appearing. "The female lead is so considerate. Even after a fight, she sends meals to the male lead every day. Male lead, give her a way out. She's about to break." In this relationship, it wasn't just me who was hurt, he was hurting too. A simple hug or a few words could have resolved everything, but we chose to handle it in such a twisted way. One day, Liu Ruyan came to see me. I thought she was there to apologize, but instead, she asked, "Boda, I heard you applied for the research project in Germany?" I looked at her, filled with confusion. She continued, "There's a junior in our lab who also wants to go, but there's only one spot. He has a lot of talent in this area, and this project would be a great opportunity for him." I immediately understood her implication and asked back, "Liu Ruyan, isn't this opportunity equally important for me? Or do you think I lack talent and would waste such a chance?" She frowned slightly, "Boda, that's not what I mean. This project doesn't align well with your field, but it's a better fit for that junior. The project in Singapore is also good and more suited for you." Despite my anger, I took a deep breath to calm myself. You know, that project doesn't exactly match my field. But do you realize how much effort I put into getting this opportunity? You're right, I'm not as naturally gifted as you or that junior. I wasn't invited into the lab early on. Every chance I got to be in the lab came from pleading with professor after professor. This past year, I've worked tirelessly, doing experiments, analyzing data, just to earn this opportunity. And now you're telling me someone else is more talented and better suited for this project, and you want me to give it up?